Text can make or break a map. In this demo, I am going to show you how to make some great text in ArcGIS Pro. We will cover labels, annotation, map notes, and layout text. That's not all of the things, but it's a lot of things, so let's get started. This is the map we're going to work on today. Thank you to Geoscience Australia for the data. You'll see that this places layer I have divided up into different symbol classes using unique value symbology. These pink label symbols, they're going to disappear later, temporary symbols. These are places that I want to label. I don't want them to draw, but for now, it's useful to see where they are while I'm editing the text. Let's turn labeling on for this layer. You can do that from the ribbon. All right, so my labels are drawing. Right now, they all look the same, and it would be more useful if they use different styles for different kinds of things. So on the labeling ribbon, in the class menu, I will choose Create Label Classes from Symbology. Now you can see why I set up so many symbol classes, even though a lot of them use the same symbol. It's because I'm going to reuse the symbol classes to make label classes. All right, now that I've done that, I can go in the contents pane to list by labeling. And here I have all of my label classes. They are very similar to symbol classes in unique values. And right now they're all selected, which is good. That means I can change the color for all of them at the same time. They're all in all caps right now, which is a little bit hard to read. So let's choose water features and press this field expression button to change that. Okay, right now the field expression is just the name field. It's just being labeled with the name field. I'm going to modify this, the arcade proper. This means I'm going to convert it to proper case text instead of uppercase text. There you go. While I have the water feature selected, I can also change the font up on the ribbon. Choose bold, italic, give it a watery color. Great. One difference between the regular text world and the map text world is line spacing, also known as leading. You'll see here, it's not clear with the stacked label. Is Essington part of the port or is it part of the strait? We run into these places that could be clearer a lot. I find that map text almost always benefits from a condensed line spacing. So on the label class pane here, I can go to the symbol formatting properties and decrease my line spacing. I'm going to choose -2.5. -2 I find is a good default. It depends on the font. So you can see now it's a lot easier to tell which label goes with what point. Let's look at some rivers next. I'll turn on the labels for the rivers, streams. And these I think could use some help still. So let's go to the position tab here and placement properties. There's actually an option for river placement that makes them kind of flow along the river. I don't want the stacking to happen for rivers, so I'll turn off stacked label. And finally, I'm also going to go conflict resolution and uncheck never remove unplaced labels. You'll notice before I checked that not all of the labels were drawing, and that was a good thing because there were too many, like there wasn't enough room for them all to draw, and it's better to not draw them than to draw them like this. But actually, I'm later going to convert these labels into annotation where I will decide for myself which ones to remove. So for now, I want to make sure they all draw, even if they're messy. So what is annotation? What's the difference between labels and annotation? Labels are automated. You can set up lots of rules for how they draw. Should they stack? Should they, how far apart should they be spaced? But you can't tweak individual pieces of text. You can certainly make a good looking map and definitely one that's better looking than this. But you can't get it to the same level as this, where each piece of text is carefully placed. This kind of control happens with annotation. But remember that exercising that control is very time consuming. Often you won't have enough time to do that. But we're gonna we're going to show you how in this demo. So here's my labeled map. In order to convert these labels to annotation, I'm first going to zoom out because it's only going to convert those labels that are in view. I want to make sure the whole map is in view. Now on the map tab of the ribbon, I can go to convert labels to annotation. And I'll just choose my geodatabase and click run. So when this is done, the map doesn't look different at all. But in fact, all of the labels have been turned off. And they've been replaced with this group anno, this group layer of annotation layers. And these can be edited, which is awesome. So we'll go to the Edit tab up on the ribbon. And we can use tools like the Move tool, for example. Let's move this label so it's not on the ground. And all the graphical properties like the color and the font and the size, they are now stored as attributes. So I can control them from the attribute pane. For example, I'll make this one center aligned. Great. Let's try a river next because rivers are a little harder. I'll use the Edit Annotation tool this time. It's a little bit more versatile. And you see this label has 3 boxes. That's because it's fancy multi-part text. Pretty cool because I can move one word independently of the others. But actually, I want a really simple curve. So I will convert it to single part because multi-part is not simple. All right, I still have kind of a weird curve. There's a lot of vertices in here I don't want. I will just remove those vertices by straightening it out. Right-click and change curvature to horizontal. Right-click again, change curvature back to curved, but now I only have 2 vertices. If I click Edit Vertices, I can move those around. And I can play with this to my heart's content, but we won't spend too much time on it right now. Let's go over to the crowded part of the map here in Darwin. And every map is going to have a place like this, unfortunately, where you're just going to have to delete labels to make them all fit. But deleting labels is really scary. You don't know which ones to delete yet. Fortunately, with annotation, you can remove a label without deleting it. So we'll just select the one we want to remove, and we will open up its attributes. Go over to the attributes, part of the attributes, and you can change status to unplaced. Great, and I'll save those edits. Label is gone. But of course, at some point, you're going to want to review those labels that you unplaced in case you want to bring them back. I know this one was in the places anno layer, so I'll open its symbology. Here I can say draw unplaced annotation. And I like to make the unplaced labels a flashy color so that they're easier to find on the map when I'm reviewing them. All right, so you just have to do that for all of the labels on your map. And eventually, you'll have something that looks more like this. What about labels that aren't there yet? So far, we've just been editing labels that already exist, but sometimes you want to add text that isn't there already. Right here, this is the locator map for the main map, and I wanted to say Australia, just in case you didn't know. And it seems kind of silly to generate labels and convert them to annotation when there's only one word. So I'll skip the label part, move directly into annotation. You can do that by inserting some map notes. I'll choose one of these text map notes. It adds this text note layer, which is actually an annotation layer, which means I can edit it. I'll create a new feature. Type Australia and click to add it to the map. So that appeared to not work. And that's just because this text layer is at a different scale than the map. It's really, really, really tiny text, but we can fix that. I'll just save my edits first. And I will open up this fancy geoprocessing tool called Update Annotation reference scale. Choose the layer and put in a scale that makes a little bit more sense for this map. Great, there you go, it's been converted. And because it is annotation, I can also edit it. So maybe I'll make the font white. All right, so now we have covered labels, annotation, and map notes. There's one kind of text left to talk about, which is layout text. And layout text is the easiest kind because it's really just a graphic that sits on top of your map. It's really good for your non-geographic text like the title, legend, or credits. In this case, I want to add some right here to tell people what this white box is. So I will go to the Insert tab and choose Rectangle Text and draw a box. And I'll just type map area. You'll see this text element was added to the contents pane. I can double click it to open the properties. And in the properties pane here, I can change all the same properties we were looking at with the other kinds of text. The size, the font, the alignment, even the line spacing. There you go. Now you'll notice that if I move this map around, the Australia word goes with it, but map area does not. Same with this map. That's because layout text, it belongs to the layout, not to the map. That's the main difference between layout text versus labels or annotation. And I believe that Aubrey Kinghorn is talking next all about layouts in ArcGIS Pro, so we should all stick around to listen to that. And here is the finished layout for this map. If you want to make this map or one similar to it, you can, because I have a 4-part tutorial series. This talk is loosely based off of that tutorial. You can find it at this link, and I'll also put these links in the chat. And that tutorial comes with the same project package for ArcGIS Pro with all the data. It gives you all of the gory details about what button to press. If you missed anything, you can find it there. And it has some tips and techniques that I didn't cover in this talk as well. So if you're looking to make awesome text for your maps in ArcGIS Pro, you should check that out. And if you don't have access to ArcGIS Pro, you can get a 60-day free trial of the software at this link here. Thank you very much, and hopefully I have a couple minutes for your questions.
Thanks so much for that talk, Heather. We've got time for one question here before we move along. I think I'm looking here, don't see, let me look through some of these threads too. Josie Myers asked about how you pick and choose placed, unplaced labels easily. Could you kind of maybe iterate over that one more time?
How do I change the status, or how do I decide which labels? I guess I find it very, very difficult to choose which ones. But if you're just looking for a repeat on how it was an attribute of the annotation called status, and you could do that to the attribute table. I use it through the attribute pane. You can change it to placed or unplaced.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's what they were looking for. Awesome. Heather will be available in the Slack channel. If you have any more questions, just put them in there and she can answer them there. Thank you so much, Heather.